Reading with your kids.
Hola, niho, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni muli wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, an iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast Award nominee. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so grateful that you're joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Thank you very, very much. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Jennika Ingram. She is here to celebrate Mom's Turn Journal. Before we invite Jennika into the studio, we want to let you know that we have a brand new Reading with Your Kids certified great read, and it's Mom's Turn Journal. That's right, Jennika Ingram's Mom's Turn Journal is our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. We really love this journal, and you're going to hear Jennika explain what the journal is all about, all the great things that you can find in the journal. And you're not going to be surprised that our panel believed that it was worthy of 5 stars. It really is a wonderful, wonderful book. You should definitely check it out. Our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read, Mom's Turn Journal, by our guest, Jennika Ingram. Joining us right now from the beautiful state of Utah. Our guest today is the creator of Mom's Turn Journal. I'm really excited to welcome to the show Jennika Ingram. Jennika, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'm really excited to have you on. Tell us about Mom's Turn. What's this journal all about?
Well, it's a journal for the first year of motherhood. I interviewed mothers all across the country about all the things that they wish they knew and they didn't expect. And then I made an opportunity for them to write about it. And I also weighed in on the research I had with other experts to let them know some more facts and tips about it so that they could enhance their journey and have a really good time being a mother.
That's really a wonderful idea. I'm familiar with, the kind of baby's first year journals and when my wife gave birth to my kids, we had those, but they were, it's just kind of like a blank page. There's maybe some pretty calligraphy and then lines for, my first words were and right before I was born, but they were basically diaries. There was no real information there for moms. It sounds like your journal is solving that problem, really giving some great information for moms and also letting moms share their memories.
Exactly. I tried to amass key points in the emotional journey that every mom can relate to, but I did also want to weigh in with research. So there is a 15-page bibliography. I come from a professional journalism background, and I have a master's in journalism, and I have education in early childhood education. So I did want to add to everyone's personal stories with, expert opinion and give them some facts and tips to help them along the journey.
In doing your research, what was the thing that you discovered that most surprised you?
Most surprised me? What surprised me was how common, in a way, the journey is. I mean, it didn't matter. Everybody's backgrounds was so different types of, every different type of mom I could fit into the journal I did. And by the time that I finished the book, I really felt like moms were starting to repeat things that were already in the book. Like I had sort of gone through all the main key points. So I think that really surprised me because I do think there's in some ways a finite number of main key points that the moms in general go through.
Can you share some of those things that moms go through?
Okay. Well, that's an interesting point. Just things about deciding whether they should move closer to extended family or, even things like dealing with their friends and friends who don't have kids. I mean, some of those topics that we don't always think about being a mom, but really can be very important on the emotional journey for a mom in terms of other, their relationships as well as their children. Of course, there's all the main things to do with the health stuff. Like obviously every mother has to feed their child, breastfeeding or not to breastfeed and all those types of things.
You just mentioned a couple of really great points that I don't think people spend enough time thinking about and considering. That whole idea of should I broke free of my home and I staked out, I went out into the world and I created my own home, but now I'm going to have a kid, and should I really go back to where I have some more support, or should I stay here where, it's just kind of me? That's a really big decision for families to make.
I think so, and a really important one because, it is a very special time in your child's life, and you have to make that decision. Do you want to spend money on holidays, flying people in, flying people out, all that stuff, or do you want that day-to-day interaction with your family? So, and sometimes, of course, it could be a couple situation, and the families are from different places. So those are very, very big decisions, and they should be looked at. They should be put aside till later. They should really be examined during that first year, I think, if they haven't been before that. And so, yes, that's one of the things in the book that moms can look at and decide for themselves.
Yeah. So really very important. As you're talking here, there are, there's not enough information and support for moms, and I'm really happy that you're here and you created this book for moms. But boy, I wish there was information for dads. I wish there was a what to expect when your wife is expecting book for dads, because I had no idea when my beautiful wife was pregnant that I would have to go to 3 different restaurants to get one meal for her, because she wanted a sandwich from one restaurant and French fries from another restaurant and a drink from a third restaurant, and I couldn't mix them up. And, if I was cooking something, I had to go out and grill it outside, even in December. I had no idea. When my daughter came along, I kind of expected a lot of that stuff, but a heads up would have helped.
You sound like a wonderfully supportive partner and dad, though. I think that sounds amazing that you were so great about that. And I have had dads read the book, and actually some a well-known dad read it and said that he loved it. So I mean, it's definitely something that dads can definitely pick up. It's one of those books where you can just read a page. You don't have to read it from start to finish. You could just there's an index of what you can look for and all that. So dads can definitely weigh in on this book. I did focus on the moms. Part of it was because a lot of the dads that I attempted to interview ended up getting a little shy about it. So I ended up just deciding to focus on moms, but dads can certainly learn about the journey and their wives and so forth by taking a peek at the book, for sure.
Yeah. I'm really happy that you created this book, and I'm really happy that you're talking about and talking with the reader about support, and really it sounds like you're encouraging women to be intentional about having a support team around them and who they should have around them and why it's so important to have that support.
Absolutely. And one thing I will say about the book that I really try to do is everything in the book is positive. So if everything doesn't go your way, if your child is a little different than you expected, if there's any kind of a health difficulty, anything like that, everything in the book is really about looking at the bright side of the situation. And in terms of a support team, absolutely. Because support teams, as you know, in modern times, in modern days, everybody has modern families. And sometimes that support team may look different for one mom, obviously, than another. So it's all, it is in here, and people can write about it and think about it. And again, all coming from a place of we can do this, and this can be a really great experience, Mm-hmm. So absolutely.
Yeah. There's so many decisions that moms have to make in that period, and dads, and as you're speaking and talking about, modern families look different. We host international kids here in our home, and we had a young man from the Netherlands living with us for a short period of time. Great young man. And as we were driving him around Boston, which coming back from his school, which was in downtown Boston, driving out to our home, and we passed the hospital where my kids were born. And I just mentioned, I goes, oh, that's the hospital where Chris and Alejandro were born. And he got shocked and really horrified. And he said, "Oh my goodness, what was wrong?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Why did they have to be born in a hospital?" And I'm like, Wait a minute.
Yeah, times have changed.
Where were you born?
Yeah.
But in the Netherlands, it's quite common. I guess that's most folks in the Netherlands are born in the home, and that's a choice that some moms are making here in the States too.
Yeah, I touch upon that, but the book is really for the first year. So I do have a little bit about like thinking about where you're going to have the baby and your names and a little bit about having premature babies and so forth. But one thing I do want to say is that I don't make any judgments. So everything in the book is your choice. So that would be something where there might be some lines, for you to write about your decision, but I do leave that up to the parents because everyone's different with that stuff, Yeah.
I think that we talk about, the podcast is Reading with Your Kids podcast, and we talk about the value of story and sitting down and reading with our kids and sharing those stories and talking about the stories as we're going through a picture book and our little ones are sitting on our laps, and then continuing that on as they grow older. And we also talk about sharing memories of families and sharing story in that way. I think Mom's Turn would be a beautiful book to sit down and read with your kids when they turn 5 and 8 and 10, and just kind of going back and sharing with your child that first year when he or she came into your life and some of the things you were feeling and some of the experiences that you had, some of the great memories that you had, some of the scary moments. I think that would be all something really valuable for a family to do.
Oh, I think so. And I even, there's all sorts of little things like you just mentioned are touched on in the book and fun little moments that moms can write about. And what I do is I have little journal prompts on the pages. So they, moms are tired and you can just write one sentence about your child, about, even interacting with your pet that day, or if your child's using a soother, or little funny things, some serious things. And so they could definitely read it back to their child later and have some memories that might not have otherwise been captured, because you can just do it in a minute of your time, easily. So I definitely tried to incorporate it so that they could do that.
Yeah. I'm curious, have any of the readers, I guess readers and writers of Mom's Turn, has anybody shared with you some really kind of fun memories that they've entered into their mom's journal?
Well, one thing I've had people contact me from across the globe. So I guess kind of a nice story is a little different than that. But, one dad actually, translated, stuff that I had wrote for his wife because he really found it valuable. And he said that he wanted that. So that was very special to me that somebody wanted to translate the book into a different language to share it with somebody and he even used the words, it helped him love his daughter more. So something like that is very touching. So I don't know.
That's beautiful. I'm curious. We've talked to authors in the past about, what do they think about when they realize that there are families all over the world who are going to be sitting down and experiencing this book together. What do you feel when you realize that, as you just found out, there are families all over the world that are sharing their memories and capturing their memories using this tool that you've created?
Well, I feel very honored. I'm happy that it's happening, and I really do want to promote moms being the best moms and parents being the best parents that they can be. And I think that's why it's so important to share this knowledge with each other and share these stories that aren't just my stories. I mean, I interviewed many, many moms to add their wisdom into the book, and I think that just the more we can share and become a better community of parents, the better for all of us, right? So, I'm really, really glad when I hear things like that.
Yeah. Tell me, is there one piece of wisdom that you discovered and shared in Mom's Turn Journal that was really special to you and that really kind of stands out in your mind?
Well, something that stands out of my mind in relationship to your show particularly is just how important it is. I want to say this is to read to your children. Because, as you know from doing your show, I'm sure that, the more you read to your children, the better, and it's as early as possible. So one fact I have in the book is that, often parents don't start reading till their don't start reading till their children till they're like 22 months old or 2 years old. And, I think that they should read to them, as soon as they can. So, the earlier the better is what all the research is saying. So. Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely. And I know I started reading to my son when he was in the womb. Because I read somewhere that they can hear it. I don't know if he was able to hear it, but I do know the minute he entered into the world, books were a part of his life. And even if it was just, gnawing on a board book, and, he didn't want me to read it, but he wanted to gnaw on it. It was his first experience devouring a book, and we really love that. So I'm really happy that you have that piece of wisdom in your Mom's Turn journal.
Yeah, another piece of wisdom is that, children do learn all the sounds of their native language in the first year. And one little tip was that the Journal of the Acoustical Society of America pointed out that a 2-month-old infant can remember a short melody and differentiate it from another melody, which is another thing I had never realized before. And I thought that was really interesting.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, so just little tips like that you wouldn't necessarily think about that can kind of make just doing things that you normally do, like playing a song or doing something, a play activity with your little one, that could be kind of enhance it a little bit just because you're knowing that you're teaching them something.
Yeah, great. So maybe you might be a little bit more intentional when we're listening to music with our infants, and we don't necessarily want to be listening to songs that we don't want them to sing back to us later on.
You never know. But yeah, good children's music is great. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Hey, have you caught the writer's bug? Are there more books coming from Jennika Ingram?
The one I'm working on now is actually called Grandma's Turn. So it's a book for grandmothers to have sort of the experience of their experiences with their children. And it's not, this one's really focused on the first year journey. The Grandma's Turn is going to be babies, teens, tweens, all the way up to college age, what grandmas share with us their knowledge and their experience of having a grandchild, and another place to record their experiences. As you said, with this book, they can pass on to their grandchildren. Yeah. This book, the moms can pass on to their children. So kind of along the same lines, but that's the one I'm going to be, that's coming out next.
Well, you mentioned, I don't want to give anything away, but boy, I think that a similar journal for moms to, help them through the terrible twos and the kindergarten years, and especially the middle school years, I think could be very, very valuable and needed.
Well, thank you. I mean, I hope to have that opportunity. I would love to do that. I mean, if I could do one for each chapter, that would be fantastic. So thank you for that input. I'm glad to hear that I've already got an audience, so that's great.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that you remind me of, and I think we need to remind each other of, is the fact that parenting is hard. And every parent's experience is different. And, the cliche, kids don't come with an owner's manual. But there's definitely certain wisdom. You're not the first parent who's gone through this. You're not the first parent who, kid's gone through middle school and been bullied or was a bully or whatever it is. And if we can, just like a lot of kids don't like to admit that they don't have all the answers, there are a lot of parents out there who try to fake it, and they don't want anybody to know that they don't know all the answers. And I think it's really important for us to kind of drop that pretense and say, look, I need some help sometime. And I'm really glad that folks like you are out there offering help and offering support for families.
Well, thank you so much. And I do have a chapter in the book called Overcoming Adversity. Mm-hmm. And I have stories of moms who've had really significant things that they needed to overcome. And I think that there's a real shared experience reading those stories. I feel that, so I tried to put that in. And then I also have a first time for everything chart. And so it's all those little things that could be frustrating. But then I also added a little humor to it too. So, because as you say, it can be really difficult and you do need support. And I'm hoping that this will help diffuse it a little bit for people because they can see that other people are going through it with them, but it's because it's in a book form, they can write their experience down and it's not on the internet. I mean, they can do it on the internet, but it's not on the internet. So it's private and yet they can still, read about these other people's experiences of challenges that's similar to theirs. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And you know what else makes sense to me? I think that this would make a fantastic gift for a grandmother to buy for her daughter or daughter-in-law, for a friend to buy. We try to go out and we think, oh, there's a baby coming. I need to buy a big expensive car seat. And those are really, really helpful. But a lot of that stuff that we buy just kind of gets passed along and it's used for 6 months or so and then it gets thrown out or passed along to somebody else. This is a gift that I think would stay in a family forever.
Oh, you're so kind. Well, I tried to make the book not too precious because I do want them to be able to carry it with them. So I did make it in a form that it's like it's small, so they can just put it in their bag and bring it with them so that, if the Wi-Fi is out someplace or if they're feeling super frustrated, they can use it as a reference or there's even coloring on the sides of the book. So if the child's asleep laying on them, they can just kind of color. So I did really want to make it, into a book that somebody could give as a gift. You could give it with pencil crayons if you wanted. And also it's something that they can really take with them. So it's not so precious that it sits on the shelf and looks beautiful, but you don't use it, I wanted it to be something that's in the baby bag, that's with them and that it can just be used for them in those moments of frustration or in those moments of happiness,
Hey, can you tell everybody where they can go to find out more about the Moms Turn Journal and more about you?
Oh, you're so kind. Okay. The book is available on Amazon, like so many things. It's also available on my website at www.momsturnjournal.com. You can also get it at some independent bookstores, but because we're all in so many different places, I won't go through those. So those are two places where it's very easily accessible.
And if they're available at different independent bookstores, then I am guessing that any small bookshop or any indie bookshop that you may live close to will be able to order the book for you. So pick up the phone, give them a call, say, hey, I've heard about this great thing, this Mom's Turn Journal by Jennika Ingram. Do you think you can order it and bring it in? I want to support you. I want to order it from you. And I bet you they'll be able to get it.
Well, thank you. I think so. And it's at a few libraries. Obviously I'd love people to buy it, but if they can't afford it, you can also do the same type of thing and ask your library to order it for you. So yes, I would love people to get out there and give it a chance.
We've been talking to the author of Mom's Turn, a journal for the first year of being a mom. And we've been speaking with the author, Jennika Ingram. Jennika, thanks so much for being part of the show.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to be here. I really appreciated your time. Thank you.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're really excited to welcome back 6 authors from CatholicTeenBooks.com. They're here to celebrate their wonderful anthology series, Treasures, Visible and Invisible. Specifically, they're going to be celebrating the 3rd book in that series, which celebrates St. Patrick. And it's very, very fitting and timely because it's St. Patrick's Day. So don't miss it. We're going to be joined by Carolyn Asphalt, T.M. Gowett, Karina Turner, Leslie Wall, Amanda Lauer, and Anthony Kolink. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Hey, you heard earlier that Jennika Ingram's Mom's Turn Journal is our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book, you want to check out our certified great read. If our panel believes that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a certified great read. And with that status comes a number of really powerful promotional tools that can help your book stand out from the crowd of books that are published every single month. You can find out about it by going to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page. Scroll on down to Certified Great Reads application. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, want to start by thanking our guest, Jennika Ingram. Be sure to check out Mom's Turn Journal. Also want to thank my team, Alejandro Doherty, Fatima Khan, our fantastic interns, Alexia Brown, Hannah Pat Oboyski. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me, but most of all, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.